All right. So once again, thank you for joining us. My name is AnneMarie DeGeorge, and I work in the Career and Professional Development Center. My job is overseeing on-campus student employment. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is how to find a job, how to apply for a job. And my colleague is joining from the Student Financial Aid Office, and she'll be talking a little bit about federal work study. Elaine?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. As AnneMarie said, thanks for joining us. My name is Elaine Taillon. I am the Senior Associate Director in the Student Financial Aid Office. And one of my primary responsibilities is I am responsible for the Federal Work Study Program on campus, the fiscal side of it, the financing area. So I'm going to talk to you, the second part of our presentation will be about, for those of you that have a Federal Work Study Award.
All right, so to get started, just to let you know what we're going to be covering tonight, I'm going to talk about finding on-campus employment. As we just said, Elaine's going to talk a little bit about federal work study, and then we're going to have time for your questions. So if during the presentation you do have questions, I would ask that you hold on to them or put them in the chat. And then after we have given our comments, then we'll be able to address your questions. All right, so I want to start by just giving you an overview of on-campus student employment at Carnegie Mellon University. At the university on the Pittsburgh campus, we have over 5,500 hourly student jobs. And of those jobs, about half, these are rough numbers, but about half of them are what I call administrative jobs. Those are jobs in offices, maybe a desk job or an info center, a peer mentor, a tour guide, those kinds of jobs. The other half of our jobs are teaching assistant positions and research jobs. So we have a lot of teaching assistants, both undergraduate and graduate, and we'll get into that just a little bit later, but generally to be a TA means that not only you have to have knowledge of that subject, but you probably have had to take that class and have gotten a good grade in that class in order to be a teaching assistant in future semesters. About 2/3 of our hourly jobs are held by undergraduates, which means that we do have quite a number of graduate students who have hourly jobs on campus as well. And you can see with 5,500 jobs and 4,000 student workers, what that means is that some of our students have more than one job. It's not uncommon to have 2 jobs. Some people even have more than that. It's a lot to juggle, but some people do it. About 40% of our undergraduate students have jobs on campus, and on average, students work about 10 hours a week. In some jobs, they might work as few as 2 or 3 hours a week. Some students work as many as 15 or 20, but the average tends to be 8 to 10. And on campus at Carnegie Mellon University, our hourly minimum wage is $10. So a lot of students want to have a job because you want to earn money. That's very common, very natural. But we want to make sure that you know that having an on-campus job is more than just earning income, because it's a learning experience for students, and our supervisors are very involved with their student workers, trying to coach them, mentor them, and help them to develop job skills and professional skills that they'll use outside of the campus job as well. So at CMU, we have an emphasis on career-ready competencies. And some of the ones that we emphasize, not only in the classroom, also in our on-campus employment: communication, collaboration and teamwork, data literacy, diversity, equity and inclusion, time management, and leadership. I think that it's probably true to say that almost all students who have jobs on campus develop in multiple areas in ways that help prepare you for your jobs either in the summer, during college, and certainly beyond when you graduate. So there are on-campus hourly jobs available in dozens, hundreds really, of departments. And these are just a few to give you an idea of some of the variety of the kinds of departments that you might be able to work in. Athletics, our Cohen University Center that has an information desk, and we have a number of students who give information to the public as well as to our on-campus community. We have a health services department, actually quite a large one, where students can both work in the office and they can work as peer advocates. The admissions department, all of our colleges really have student workers. I just mentioned the College of Fine Arts. The housing department, dining services, we have 13 or 14 restaurants on campus, and most of them hire students. So some students like to have jobs that are different than what they're studying in school because it gives them kind of a break and they're learning different kinds of skills. Some students like to have jobs that are more in line with what they're studying because it enhances what they're learning. Either way, an on-campus job can enhance your learning experience. So the Student Academic Success Center is an example of a department that hires tutors. These are, again, peer tutors that help other students. We have a lot of campus tour guides who give, maybe you took a tour before you applied or maybe when you were applying here. Campus tour guides give tours to outside groups just about every day, 365 days a year here in Pittsburgh. And our libraries hire a lot of students to work in the stacks and the circulation desk. So again, that's just a sampling. There are many, many more departments, but these are some of the departments that hire more students than others. When you decide that you want to work in a department, you will need to apply for a job formally, and most of the job applications do involve an interview. So just so you know that you can expect that. Here at CMU, we use a platform called Handshake. Hopefully you all have a Handshake account. I know that many of you on this call might be freshmen. And if you are and you haven't yet gotten your Handshake account, I highly recommend that you do that. For those of you who are upperclassmen, hopefully you have a Handshake account by now, and you know that it's our primary source for external jobs as well as on-campus jobs. On Handshake, you can also find a whole bunch of resources. You can find information about job fairs and events, and it is through Handshake that you're going to be applying for an on-campus job if it's posted on Handshake. Over 100 divisions do post using Handshake, and last year we had almost 15,000 applicants.
Yeah, pretty close, pretty damn close.
I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody just so that you know. If you find yourself unmuted, I ask you kindly to mute. And if you need to ask a question, again, we'll do that at the end. All right, so let's say that you've gone on to Handshake, you have seen some jobs that you're interested in. How do you get ready to apply for one of these jobs? Well, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your Handshake account and your profile are completed so that you can go ahead and submit your resume, which hopefully you've already uploaded onto Handshake. If you don't yet have a resume, especially for incoming freshmen who are on this call, I recommend that you try to draft up a one-page resume. I know a lot of high school students have resumes that are more like activities lists. They might be 4 or 5 pages long. You're going to want to condense that into highlights that fit onto one page. And if you need any help with getting a resume done, which I know a lot of students get a little intimidated with that idea of a one-page resume, I assure you we're here to help you. We have consultants in the Career and Professional Development Center, and we have career peer mentors, students who are trained to help students. And even if you don't even have a draft, you can just make an appointment, come on in, and someone is going to be ready and able to help you get that draft started. It's not a real high pressure situation in applying for a job on campus, but you do want to be prepared in a professional way. And by that, I mean, you'll have your resume that you'll submit, and you'll be asked probably to have an interview before you receive any kind of job offer. I want to talk just a minute about timing of applying for on-campus jobs. As soon as you see a posting that you are interested in applying to, I recommend you go ahead and submit your application as soon as you're ready. If the job is posted, that means that the hiring manager is starting to look at applications as soon as they come in. A lot of hiring managers will hire students on a rolling basis. So the earlier you get it in, possibly the better chance you'll have. And in general, hiring managers are looking to hire before the semester begins. So if you're looking at Handshake right now, you'll see about 45, 46 jobs posted. Next week, it'll be more. The week after that, it'll be even more. That's the beginning of the semester, and then the jobs are going to start getting filled. Then you're going to see fewer jobs, so it goes in a cycle. And then in about November, people are going to start posting again for hiring for spring semester. Now, a lot of departments hire in the spring for the following fall. So keep that in mind, okay? If you don't get a job this fall, but you want one starting your next year, look in the spring. Starting in March, supervisors are going to begin posting, and a lot of departments like to have students hired so that they can start on day one in the fall, and they do that hiring usually in the spring. Then there's going to be a lull in the summer. Not a lot happens in late May, June, early July, and then the postings will begin again in early August for the fall. All right, so right now is a great time to start looking on Handshake. You'll start seeing jobs now, today, and in the next couple of weeks. So when you find something that you're interested in, go ahead and get that resume ready and apply on Handshake. All right, so Handshake. I keep talking about Handshake. That's certainly the number one first place you want to look for on-campus job opportunities. And when you look on Handshake, I recommend you use a filter called On Campus. Okay, it's pretty self-evident, but you don't see it right away. You have to click All Filters, and then you'll see the on-campus filter. When you click that, you will get all of the jobs for CMU on campus. Otherwise, when you just look at jobs on Handshake, you're going to get, 30,000 some, because it includes all of the jobs from external companies who are posting, looking for students. So be sure and look with that filter if you're looking for on campus. In addition to Handshake, though, there are other ways that you can find jobs. There are a couple of departments who post jobs on their own website. So feel free to look on CMU's website and look at departments that you might be interested in working at and see if they have applications online. Examples include the library. Their applications are on their university library's webpage. The Student Academic Success Center has an application online on their webpage. And residential education. If you're interested in being a resident assistant, an RA, where you live in the dorm and you're helping the students on that floor or in that building where you live, the resident assistant application is on their website as well. It will probably also be on Handshake, but I'm just telling you, you can find jobs sometimes in multiple ways. For teaching assistant jobs, it's a little bit different. Not all of those get posted on Handshake. Some of them do, but the vast majority don't. And that is because you're going to want to talk to a faculty member, or a faculty member is going to reach out to the students who had that class to invite you to apply to be a TA. So that's done more directly with faculty. And sometimes they send out a department email to everyone who took that class or to everyone in a particular major if they're looking for specific skills for the teaching assistant for that course. Research jobs, similarly, some are posted on Handshake, but not all. And in fact, many of them are not. So a lot of times students who are interested in doing research reach out directly to the faculty member whom they're interested in working with. So you can look online at faculty bios, see what faculty are researching currently, what their research interests are. And if it's someone who you think you could help or would like to work with, you can reach out to them directly. Go to their office hours is the best way, or you can reach out with a cold email. Academic advisors can be very helpful in this regard. They often know which faculty are looking for students to work with them, so your academic advisor could help. We also have a research office, and you can find them on our website. And if you go to their webpage, the undergraduate research office, you'll find a lot of information about available funding for research positions on campus. All right, just want to direct you to our webpage. This is a shared Career and Professional Development Center webpage together with Human Resources. Because at CMU, there are really 3 areas where we're all responsible for some piece of student employment. Elaine is one of them with financial aid, Human resources is the other resource that you're really going to become familiar with if you have an on-campus job. And this website that is on the screen right now is a way for you to find out about some of the things we're talking about tonight, but also a lot of different resources when you're looking for a job. And then once you've been hired, you'll need a lot of information from these websites about getting paid, which of course is very important. I want to make sure that all of you are aware that we are having a student employment fair in a couple of weeks. So on August 28th, during the lunchtime between 11:30 and 1:30, we're having what we're calling a student employment fair, where we're going to have over 25 departments who are currently hiring for the fall. At each of them are going to have their own table in the Legacy Plaza, which is the plaza between West Wing, which is where the CPDC office is, and the Cohen University Center. We're going to have some goodies, Rita's Ice, and some other things in addition. But the purpose for you, if you're interested in on-campus employment and you don't yet have a job, is it gives you the opportunity to talk to hiring managers, and you can explore a variety of opportunities before you apply. Everybody is welcome to that, undergraduate and graduate students. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Elaine to talk a bit about federal work study, and then we'll get your questions after that.
Thank you, AnneMarie. So those of you that have applied for and received financial aid, you may see on your financial aid offer letter a federal work study award. The federal work study award is money that you earn during the academic year by finding a job on campus through one of these outlets. We consider work studies what's called a self-help award in the financial aid world. And self-help means that you earn that money yourself. So it's called self-help. It's not something that's given to you. It's not a gift or a gift aid. We have gift aid and we have self-help. So work study is considered self-help. All of our on-campus jobs will count towards their work study award as long as the rate of pay is between $10 and $13 an hour. And the way that we know that is that when you get a job, if your pay is between $10 and $13 an hour, the person hiring you, either in your department or your immediate supervisor, will load that information into Workday, which is our human resources system. And Workday knows that if there is an undergraduate with a job of $10 to $13 an hour, and they have a work study award, which we also tell Workday that, then they know that that job is going to be counted as towards your work study earnings. And you can earn up to your work study award amount anytime throughout the academic year. Most work study awards are either $2,000 or $3,000. Handshake, however, does not show whether or not the student has work study. So the person that you're interviewing with may ask you if you have a work study award. So you want to let them know yes or no. So make sure that you know going into your interview whether or not you have work study and how much. It's important to departments primarily because the department benefits also. When a student has a work study award, the federal government, because it's federal work study, the federal government actually subsidizes your pay. So they pay a portion of your earnings. Whatever you earn, the federal government will pay a portion of that, and your department pays a portion of that. All work study jobs are paid hourly. If you have a job that you're getting paid on a monthly basis, that does not count towards work study. It has to be paid hourly. That's a federal regulation. Students are paid bi-weekly for their federal work study awards, like every 2 weeks. And there is a payroll calendar, and the link is here, and that is the bi-weekly calendar. You get paid every other Friday. You are required to enter the hours you work each week into Workday. There's a specific place to enter your hours. You enter your hours, you submit them. Either your supervisor or another person in the department that is hired you has to go in and approve your hours. So you have to make sure that you get them in timely. We usually suggest that you get your hours in on Fridays because the hiring department has to approve and certify your hours no later than noon on the following Monday. Otherwise, you're not going to get paid. It's going to get delayed. So it's very important. That's one of the most important things, is make sure that you get your hours into Workday, like weekly is what I would recommend, just to make sure that they're in there. And there is a federal regulation that says that students, you cannot work during your scheduled class time. So if you have class from 1 till 1:45, you are not supposed to be working that time. That's the time that you're supposed to be in class. And when we get people coming in to check to see if things are being done properly, that is one of the things they check. They will check online in Workday to see when you've got your hours in, and they're going to check it against your student schedule to make sure that you're not working during your scheduled class time. Before you begin your job, Human Resources requires some documents if you have never worked for Carnegie Mellon previously. The URL is here, the HR onboarding site, and you will need to complete an I-9 form. The I-9 form will require that you bring these documents in person to our Human Resources or our payroll office. You have to have an I-9 form. You have to have your Social Security number, tax, and then you have to also fill out your tax deductions for your W-2. And then you have to sign up for direct deposit. So when you get paid every 2 weeks, it will go direct deposit into your savings or your checking account, whatever bank you identify. I-9 documents, and this, I'm going to refer you to the information that's at the bottom of this page. This link is very important because neither AnneMarie nor I are in Human Resources. This can be very confusing. So you're going to want to contact them to make sure that you've got the right documents with you. We highly recommend you bring them with you to campus. If your parents don't want you to bring them, you're going to need to bring them. They will not accept copies. You must have the original documents. One of the things you can do is bring them with you, and once your I-9s are completed, you can mail them back home or take them back home with you during one of your breaks, something like that. But they will not accept photocopies. They are required to actually physically view the original documents. Frequently asked questions: can my job earnings be applied directly to my CMU bill? The answer to that here at Carnegie Mellon is no. We will not automatically take your earnings and apply it towards your bill. If you want to do that, what you will need to do is you will actually need to make payments to Carnegie Mellon in the amount that you are actually your work-study earnings. Most of our students use their work-study earnings to pay for like miscellaneous expenses, a little bit of spending money, entertainment, things of that nature, extra food if you're, want to go out to eat, things like that. That's what our students primarily use their work-study earnings for. Because as AnneMarie said, it's only usually about 10 to 12 hours per week. So it's not, it's not a huge amount of money. It's just things to help you supplement. $2,000 to $3,000 per year. We have about 18 biweekly pays in the academic year. So it's really not a lot of money every 2 weeks. So you're not going to be able to cover your rent or something like that with your work-study earnings, but you can use it to help supplement things. If I reach my work-study award maximum, can I continue working? The answer to that is you will need to check with your employer and make sure that they're willing to continue to employ you. As I said earlier, students that use their work-study funds, their earnings are supplemented by the federal government. So the department only pays a portion of your earnings, then the federal government pays the rest. So if you want to continue working after you've used up your $2,000 or $3,000 work study award, your department will need to agree so that you can continue to get paid, because once you reach that award amount, your department will then be charged the entire amount of your earnings. Any questions?
Yeah, Elaine, we have a couple of questions here in the chat, and I actually think for those who asked these questions, I think she already covered it, but I'm going to ask them directly anyway, just so that if anyone else has the same question, you can hear the answer maybe for a second time.
Okay.
So, Elaine, how can you check if you received a work study award or not?
It will be on in your award letter, your offer notification on mystudentaid.org. It will be usually, I think it's like towards the bottom of the offer notification that you get. You should receive like an email that tells you that you have a financial aid offer available, and you can go in and look at it. And it's on mystudentaid.org.
Okay, and are work study monies separate from regular wages?
No, they are not separate from regular wages. They do take taxes out on it. It's not tax-free. One of the advantages of using your work study is that when you apply for financial aid next year, those earnings, I report that to the Department of Education, and they actually subtract that amount from your earnings, from your tax documents, and they calculate your family contribution without those funds. So that is a benefit.
Okay, and again, I think you were just talking about this, but just to reiterate, someone asks, can you keep the money for yourselves and use it to buy snacks or other college essentials?
Yes, absolutely. That is primarily what it's used for. Yes.
Yeah, so basically you're just earning money through your job, and you can use that money however you want, but it's
Correct.
intended to help you be able to cover your expenses.
Correct. Your cost of attendance contains a what we call a component. It's called miscellaneous, and it's like a catch-all for, not tuition and fees, not books and supplies, or travel and transportation. It's miscellaneous, so it's like everything else. It's like your one big bucket, and that's usually what students use their work study earnings on. They go on, they go buy some extra clothes, or some extra food, go out for dinner, that kind of thing.
Right. So another question kind of along those same lines, someone asks, what is the purpose of the work study? I have it, but I didn't factor it in, but it didn't factor into my semester cost.
It will not show on your bill. It's actually money that you earn through getting a job on campus, and you earn the money through working and getting paid every 2 weeks. We do keep track. Workday will send us how much you've earned. So we also know when you've actually reached your work study limit. Workday knows, and then they send that to the financial aid office, and we record that in the financial aid system. So we know when you're working and when you're not working. If you would like to increase your work study award, you can contact your hub liaison, and they can help you with that. If you have eligibility for it, we can increase that for you.
I just want to chime in. I've been letting in some people. I still have that waiting room enabled, and I've been letting you in as I've been seeing you. For those of you who might have joined late, I want to assure you that we are recording this, and I will send this out to anybody who registered so that you can see the first part that you might have missed. Okay, so another question, how many hours are we allowed to work in a week, and can we have multiple jobs?
Yes, you can have multiple jobs. You can work up to 35 hours per week. Normally it's 10 to 12. Students do work during the summer. We do not have work study funding available in the summer, though, only during the academic year, because our funds are limited from the part of it is paid by the federal government. So we only have work study funding during the academic year, but many students will get on-campus jobs when they're here in the summer, and they will work, 35 to 40 hours a week. But during school time, the only thing you cannot do is work during your class time.
Right, and another caveat is for any international students who are here on a student visa,
Yes.
there is a 20-hour per week limit. Again, government regulations. How and where should we obtain the I-9 form? You can find it on the Human Resources website. You can also just Google it and you'll find it on the government website, because essentially our HR website links you to that form on the government site. But if you go to that student employment portal that I showed you earlier, it's cmu.edu/career, and then go to the student employment tab and you will find it under starting a job. The link to HR, the page where the I-9 form can be found. Someone says, can you please repeat about the department being charged the same amount as you worked?
Students who have work-study awards and they are using their work-study award in their job, the department is only charged a portion. They're charged 60% of whatever you're earning, and the federal government is charged the other 40%. So that is one of the ways that we are able to expand the job market on campus, because departments end up, they have more jobs available for students if they are employing work-study students, because they're only paying a portion of their earnings rather than 100%.
Yeah, I know this is something that can be really confusing until you start your job and you get used to it. I get this question a lot. From the student side, it's going to look the same whether you're eligible for work study or not. You get a job, you're earning the pay. Somebody asked, in order to get work study, you apply for a campus job and you let them know you want to do work study. So there's I think still a little bit of confusion. So I want to try to make this really simple. Any job, if you're eligible for work study, any job on campus that pays $13 or less per hour will count towards your work study award.
Yes.
So you don't have to tell a department that you want to do work study, but you might want to let them know that you are eligible for work study. That might come up in an interview. It might come up if you're writing a cover letter. But if you let them know that you're eligible for work study, then they know that they would be getting this, this subsidy through the program. On a different topic, somebody asked, this is a very career center related question, what is the difference between a resume and a cover letter? And I will just answer this very briefly because many of you might have this same question, especially if you're freshmen. So a resume is the highlights of your education, experience, activities, and awards, right? It's a one-page document that highlights your experience and your knowledge and skills through usually a chronological listing of your experience, past experience. A cover letter is simply a brief letter to the hiring manager expressing your interest in the job and telling them why you're a good fit for the job. A cover letter is not always required for on-campus jobs, but sometimes it is. But it's always welcomed if you want to write a cover letter. It just gives you an opportunity to tell a hiring manager why you want this job and why you're a good fit. And if you've never written either a resume or a cover letter before, you can go to our Career and Professional Development website and look at the tab called Students and Alumni Resource Library. And in there, we have a lot of sample cover letters and sample resumes. You can also find them in what's called college resources, so that you'll see samples that are pertinent to your major if you prefer to see them that way. Let me see if there's any other questions in here. Right, so I think that a lot of these questions are very much along the same vein, and I don't necessarily want to keep repeating ourselves, but I'll just read a couple of these questions, Elaine, and see if there's anything you want to add. One of them is, what would be the advantage of having a work study job versus just getting a regular non-work study job with higher pay?
One of the advantages is that those earnings, if it goes towards work study, then it doesn't count when you apply for financial aid in the future year. So it would get deducted from your earnings in a future year. When you record your tax information on the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, the government will then subtract out the amount that you earned in the work study program for the prior year when they're calculating your part of your family contribution.
Okay, and what happens to the rest of my work study award if in a semester I don't meet the maximum earnings for work study?
Nothing happens with it. It's available for you to use in the following semester for the academic year if you want. If you don't use it, then it just stays there.
Okay, and are taxes taken out of any money earned by work study?
Yes, taxes are taken out the same as even as it would be if you had another job on campus that did not qualify as a work study job.
All right, here's a question that I'll answer. Can you quit your job if you cannot handle the workload? It's a really good question. I hear this a lot, again, especially from incoming freshmen who haven't really yet experienced the workload here at CMU, so you're not really sure whether or not you can balance an on-campus job in addition to your workload. So the answer is yes, you can always quit a job if you can't handle the workload. But what I recommend is that you don't overload yourself at the beginning and then find that you have to drop out of a lot of stuff, including quitting a job. Better to maybe ease into it and talk to the hiring manager and see if maybe you can start with just 5 or 6 hours a week and then increase as the semester goes on if you find you have more time. That tends to work better because that way you're not stressing yourself out by overloading, and you're not putting the department in a bad situation because they were counting on having a student worker and then you have to quit. So if you can start maybe with a fewer hours and then increase if you can. Many managers are open to that kind of discussion. I recommend honesty, and I think that it's a good idea to not go in thinking that you can do a lot more than you actually can handle. That's why our average worker is usually working about 10 hours per week in addition to their classes. I think that's a good benchmark to keep in mind. But a lot of departments, as I've said before, are open to having students working sometimes even as few as 2 or 3, but that's kind of rare. 5 or 6 is not unusual. It's 5 or 6 hours per week. Right, so regarding resumes for applying, I don't recommend using your high school resume if it's your 5-page activity list that you used to apply to colleges. I do recommend that you modify that and turn it into what we call a 1-page professional resume, which will have most of those same things, but just with a lot less detail. And you can find samples on our website. You will need a resume usually to apply for jobs on campus. And if you're going to go to that campus fair on August 28th, you have, I guess, 2 weeks to try to put something together. Take a look at our career and professional development website, resource library. You'll find sample resumes there that can help get you started. Also, for all of you incoming freshmen, if you have not yet done Career Launch, I recommend that you take a look at that. Career Launch is a Canvas course that is available to all incoming freshmen, and it has different modules. You don't have to do them in order. One of them is about resumes. Another one is about interviewing. So both of those might be helpful to you if you're applying for an on-campus job. Someone asks, when can we expect to hear back or get updates on applying for on-campus jobs this fall? That's a great question. There's no consistent answer to give you, but the hiring managers who are posting jobs right now are going to be reaching out to interview candidates as soon as school starts. So I would say generally give it a week or 2. If you haven't heard back by then, you might try to follow up if you know who's hiring in the department. And usually hiring managers try to have their jobs filled in the fall by, I'd say, within the first month of school, because they like to have students who are going to be there for the majority of the semester. And many jobs are actually for the full academic year. And many students, by the way, have jobs that they keep year after year. So not every job becomes open every fall, because a lot of students that did it last year are going to return to that same job this coming fall. But there's always turnover, so there's always new openings. Okay. Elaine, I'm going to go back to you. This is, again, a little bit of a repeat, but someone is still asking, so we'll let you say it again. If you're eligible for work study and you get a job between $10 and $13, how do you indicate you want federal work study? What are the steps that they have to take after that?
The system will automatically knows that your job is a federal work study job. It is coded in the Workday system. So you don't need to do anything. You just need to make sure that your employer knows that you have work study award, so that they know that a portion of your earnings is going to be subsidized by the federal government. But you don't need to do anything. The system automatically will do it all. We've kind of honed it into a fine-tuned system.
Very good. Yeah, that's a great question. All right, we are almost at time, so I'm going to end with this question that someone just asked. Is it a good idea to bring a copy of your resume to the job fair? I'll say it certainly can't hurt. There will be some managers there who will be happy to take resumes. Most of the departments who are at the fair are going to have job postings on Handshake, and they're going to just direct you to go ahead and apply on Handshake. So if you hand them a resume, that's fine, but you probably still need to apply. Some departments also might have literally just a list, a piece of paper where they're going to be taking names of people who will be interested, almost like a waiting list. So if they end up getting, 50 people who would be good for the job, but they only have 5 openings, as they have turnover, they might contact you in the future. So in short, feel free to bring your resume if you have it, but it's not required, because basically you're going to be applying on Handshake. All right, well, I hope that I got to everyone's questions. I think that I went through them all that I saw in the chat. If you have a question that we did not cover or that was not answered tonight, you are welcome to contact me. My name, AnneMarie DeGeorge. I am in the Career and Professional Development Center. I'm going to put our names right here. Elaine, is there anything you want to say about the hub or any other place that they can get information about financial aid or work study?
The financial aid office has a federal work study or student employment site on their website, and it's cmu.edu/SFS Sam Frank Sam, which is Student Financial Services. On that page, the tab farthest to the right is student employment. There are frequently asked questions and general information primarily about federal work study, and you can find that information there. If you have additional questions, please reach out to your hub liaisons. They will be able to answer your questions. If they cannot answer your question, they will actually ask me, and I will let them know.